Okay, so tell me your name and what do you do?
I'm John McCormick, and I'm an attorney.
And what type of attorney? What do you do?
I practice employment law with a focus on school law, representing school district employees, a wide range of school district employees. And I also do some wills and probate and also some criminal defense.
Where were you born and raised?
Lubbock, Texas, the panhandle.
So tell me what life was like growing up in Lubbock.
It was interesting. Lubbock is, well, we were what I would say, what I would consider to be a close knit community. Um, I don't miss the sandstorms, but the sense of community in the East Lubbock community where I grew up was strong. We had some positive role models in the community, and they helped make the man that I am now.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have one brother who's younger than I am. He's a pastor in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. And you said you were a pastor as well.
Yes.
Tell me why you decided to become a pastor.
Well, that's an interesting question. I didn't decide it, actually. God called me to the ministry. I had planned to uh, continue with the legal career with the hopes of eventually one day going to the bench to become a judge. But in the middle of my plans, God had other plans and called me to the ministry. And as a result, I have rearranged all of my plans. And so now I'm a pastor and a lawyer. And I enjoy both.
So how did you get into the legal field?
Growing up in Lubbock, there was only one African American attorney that I recall growing up. He's now in the Dallas area. And I thought that the law was a very prestigious career, something that sort of intrigued me. I was involved in mock trials in high school and wanted to further research that. The interesting thing was that since there were really no African American lawyers in Lubbock except for one, we really there were not a lot of opportunities to be exposed to the law like there is now. But I've always I thought it was an honorable profession, and I still do very much so. And I feel very blessed to be a pastor. I'm blessed to be a pastor, but I'm also very blessed to practice law because I do think it is an honor to do it.
So you said you had a calling to be a pastor. What does that look like?
The interesting thing about God calling you is He calls each of us differently. For me, it was sort of a still small voice, um, a relenting voice that would not go away. And in fact, the more I tried to ignore it, the louder it got until it sort of became a burden. And those who have been called to the ministry, I think, know exactly what I'm talking about. And it was not until I acknowledged the call that that burden lifted. And so that was over, well, about 20 years ago. So
So how do you, if you were talking to young people about your career, how would you tell them to be able to handle both? Because obviously that is a almost a conflicting, you know.
sure.
So how would you encourage them if to go ahead and pursue both if they chose to?
I think with respect to the ministry, I believe that you must really be called to that discipline because if you're not, or to that vocation, you will not find fulfillment in it, I don't think, ultimately. With respect to the practice of law, this is going to sound strange, but I really don't consider it a job. I enjoy what I do. I've always enjoyed practicing. And I think it's a tremendous blessing when you actually get to do what you like to do and to just think, and you get paid to do what you like to do. So I think with both the practice and the pastorate, the only way to do it really, and the only way I could do it, is if I didn't see either of them as a job. And I don't. I enjoy what I do and feel blessed to be able to do it.
So did you always know you were going to go to college, and did you always know you wanted to be a lawyer?
Did not always know I was wanted to be a lawyer, but I knew I always knew I was going to go to college. My mother instilled that in us, both my brother and me, and so it was one of those things that was sort of understood. It was not one of those things that was up for discussion or debate or consideration. It's just the next logical step after high school, and then after graduating. There are so many different opportunities that are available to you. And so I knew growing up that I was going to go to college.
And how did you get into the legal field?
So in college, I thought the practice of law was always something that looked attractive to a certain extent, but I also had a desire for public service. And so I had a goal at one point to maybe become a senator or U.S. senator, but and sort of did some research and discovered that a number of the senators were lawyers. So that was very attractive to me as well. When I first started out back in the Stone Ages, when I went to college, the going thing then was computer science. And so I started in that area, but that didn't last very long. It actually lasted one semester because I discovered that I didn't have the patience to do programming, nor could I type. So I was in trouble. And then I decided to pursue a degree in government because I really enjoyed politics. I enjoyed studying it and watching it. Don't care for playing it too much, but I like watching it.
Describe a moment that may have changed the way you think about life.
Ooh. Probably about 5 years into my practice. One day I was sort of reflecting, and I realized the exposure that I had experienced to a variety of things that were open to me that I never would have known about had the law not given me that opportunity. And I guess at that point, I thought how blessed I am to be able to do something that I like doing, that I love doing, and that has afforded me an opportunity to forge relationships, to expose me to a variety of different things that I will be using for the rest of my life. And so I would say about 4 years in is when I thought about that. And I thought this was how tremendously blessed I was. And I also thought about everybody doesn't get to do it. And I'm just extremely grateful.
You said, who raised you?
My mother and my grandmother.
Okay. And what occupation was your mom?
My mom was an insurance auditor for an insurance company. My grandmother worked in retail for a clothing store.
What do you feel is your place or your purpose in life?
My purpose in life is really to encourage people. That is beyond a shadow of a doubt. I know it as sure as I'm sitting here talking to you. God placed me on this earth to encourage as many people as I can, both in the legal field and as a pastor. So that's my calling.
Who do you admire?
I admire all of the African American lawyers who have weathered the storms of a practice and still practice with passion and integrity, and anyone who has a passion for what they do, and for those who really try to make a difference, be it in a small area or on a large scale.
Describe some life lessons that you've learned.
Life is not fair, and it will never be fair. You just do the best you can and try to do the right thing, and I really believe good will win out every time. It may take a little time for that to happen, but if you try to do the right thing, good will prevail. That's a life lesson. And there are going to be some surprises in life, and how you respond to them will really determine your trajectory.
How would you describe the Black experience in Austin?
Interesting would be the best way I could describe it. Austin is, of course, there are pockets within it that I think can be attractive to African Americans, but I'm not sure that the city as a whole has reached that. That statement will probably get me in trouble, but I think that's just the reality that we live in. As diverse as she purports to be, there are still a lot of room for improvement.
What is your hope for Austin?
Yes, it is growing. It is growing exponentially, and so my hope is, along with the exponential growth, there would develop a full appreciation for the diversity. And it's my hope that one day this will be a place that will be attractive to African Americans of all walks of life, not just professionals, but all walks of life. And that's, as this diversity or this marketing of diversity is continued, I hope that there's some emphasis placed on that, because if it isn't, then Austin is not and will never be as diverse as she purports to be.
That's true. Have you ever experienced racism?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember the first time?
Growing up as a boy, but I'll tell you one of the most defining times for me. I was a first-year law student, going home from the law library at UT. And I got stopped by a policeman in South Austin. And he stopped me because there had been an alleged robbery in the area. And the description of the person was an African-American male in a small car with short hair. And so they searched me. 2 or 3 officers came alongside, and so I'm on the side of the road, and they searched my car, and I thought, how humiliating. Now, I was a first-year law student. I didn't know a lot. That narrative would go quite differently now, as I'm sure you could expect. But then I didn't. I just wanted to get home, and I knew I hadn't been involved in anything. And so I thought initially he was going to just check my driver's license and let me move on. But no, he searched my car. And so that was one.
How do you think people will remember you?
I hope people will remember me as an encourager, someone who just tried to encourage those that he came in contact with to be the best that they could be. If I'm remembered as that, then I think my life would have been well lived. And let me also say that I was a good father and a good husband. In fact, it is better that I was a good father and a good husband than anything else I do. Because the way I look at it, Pastoring and practicing law is what I do. A husband and a father, those are who I am.
Last question. What do you like to do in your leisure time?
I'm laughing because I'm trying to develop more hobbies. The hobby that I really want to pursue, my wife won't let me pursue it. And that is one day, hopefully, I'll be able to get my pilot's license. I love to fly. But since I'm sort of grounded and can't do that, I enjoy going to movies and listening to jazz. I'm trying to pick up golf, although I haven't been bitten by the bug yet. But I would say those would be my hobbies: movies and listening to jazz.
That was my last question. Do you have anything else you'd like to share?
Nothing other than I'm honored to be a part of this class. I do not take this award lightly. I really am grateful that however this happened, that it happened. And so thank you.
Thank you.
All right.